all been here.
I hope so. I feel like I'm the only one. But we were talking about making our connections with people, and I just from there. So yeah, like you're very very right. The connections that we make with people is a lot different here in America than we can make outside the country. It's totally different, depending on what culture you're in, but they connect with each other so much different than we do here. Especially like I know we've been on other streams together, and we've talked about just the idea of family and what that looks like. Also, we've seen things where families really in basically life choices in a lot of other countries. We aren't really into, and so you go somewhere else and you're going to meet someone's parents fairly early. You're going to meet someone's grandparents if they're interested, and you're going to really be involved in their daily, and you're going to see that their families are around them a lot. They move as a unit. I call it group mentality.
Yes, they do.
And it is.
Yes, they do.
It's totally different. It's totally
and
different.
The funny
and
part
here
is,
I feel like it's all about individuals.
It is. It is. United States is the classic us for no more mentality. United States act like every day. United States, when you wake up, you feel like it's a zombie apocalypse because it's all about self. It's all about looking out for self. We use the term family, and you see the clips of this family is so close, but usually they just show that family on 4th of July type of thing. I call my family every day, so therefore we must be close. No, when you come to these other countries, you realize how close they are when it comes to family. And when you get into one, like I'm in one, you don't realize how much you needed a close-knit family. I'll give you a perfect example. I've heard people say this: when you move to another country, and you marry or you're dating somebody, you're going to have to take care of their family. You're going to be providing finances and so forth and so forth. And for the most part, you don't. That's a myth. Now, if somebody asks for, I'll give you a perfect example. After Andrea's brother graduated college, he went to school for be a mechanic. He was one of 4 students that a Toyota chose to work directly for the company right after college. He needed work boots. As a graduation gift, we made sure that he got his work boots. Fast forward, he ends up being getting a new job offer for Chevy to be one of their head mechanics, because he went to school to be a mechanical engineer in regards to not just working on cars but really knowing about vehicles. So now he's head mechanic for Chevy. Our SUV is a Chevy Equinox. And he's the head mechanic around the corner at the Chevy dealership around the corner. So anything happens to our vehicle, we got brother who we got the boots for to take care of it. And he saved me just in the last year of just making sure this works, making sure that's taken care of. Probably $2,000 just because of work boots. So it's that you'll be a part of that family dynamic. When we got into a small fender bender down here 2 years ago. It was just small fender bender, nothing major. 8 family members showed up. It wasn't like we were just on the phone. Nobody got hurt. It was just fine. But 8 family members rode their motorcycles and their cars to make sure everything was all right, even though the police car was right behind us when it happened. That's how close-knit families are in other countries. When you get older, it is very rare. Even though we have nursing homes here, you're not getting stuck in a nursing home as an old person. That's not happening. You'll see a young person walking down the street very slowly with their granddad or with their grandmother, because they know this: someday I'll be that old person that'll need a young person to help me out. And they realize that everybody's going to get older. So while you're young and you're the hot chick, walk with your granddaddy. And you'll see it in the mall all the time. They'll be walking as slow as can be, granddad holding their arm, and they just taking their time with granddad or grandma. And it's a part of the dynamic that, for example, Andrea's grandmother is 93. We just celebrated her past birthday. She graduated high school, went to the high school at 85. and graduated high school. And she's 93 right now, and she's still being taken care of by the family because the rest of the family knows that, hey, my day of needing somebody will be there. And so I think that's what we have missing in the United States when it comes to that family dynamic of realizing that as we get older, we'll always need each other, just like we did when we were young.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And a big part of it too. You know, the family. This family. I've heard people who come for me and ask questions like, "Well, why do you think your children feel about it?" And one of the things I don't share all the time, but I sometimes, you know, I've told them like I've been really poly-minded for a very long time, even after or before my children. So, you know, my children have been happy and you know, two partners before when they were very young. And they've seen what that is to have more than one male around. And it's not, I think, like you said, the idea that we're all in a cesspool. We're not, like, you know, we're not, every time you see us, we're not trying to make out with each other, rub on each other. That's not, most of the time it's business. We're parents and we take care of our children. And it doesn't look like that. So the idea that it looks very, you know, very like, oh my gosh, it's too much. It's not always true. And I think that's what really drew me into it even more was I saw that interaction, especially with two Black males that can actually get along with each other. I know people like that's, but being able to get along a friendship or brotherhood with another person, especially another Black male, because men are told that you're not supposed to have these kind of relationships or friends or even, you know, a companionship, unless you've been friends with them since high school or something like that. I met this other person and they're pretty cool. We don't have any issues. We can get along and, you know, we value a lot of the similar things and we're cool with each other. And there's not a lot of Black men, I think, who have those kind of relationships with other males on a large. No one has any male friends. I don't believe that. But that kind of connection where it's like they got you like a brother, like a real brother. A lot of men do miss that, especially Black males. A lot of them don't have that. You know, everybody is just one step from taking your girlfriend or doing you dirty.
And it's kind of funny how you would say that, because I met my closest male friend, like a brother to me, through his wife. His wife was my sad girl back in the day. I mean, just wherever I went, that was my girl. And we were together so much, people thought we were dating. So when she started actually dating her guy, she was like, "Oh, Andre, I'm so excited. I can't wait for you to meet him, blah, 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 blah." Man, this dude hit it off like Voltron, like the Wonder Twins activate. And she gets jealous of us because whenever I call the States, I'm talking to Sean all the time. Sean always talking to me. So when you're talking about that, a woman can be the middle ground in the middle that two men can care about, and of course in different ways in my scenario, but meet and have a brotherhood and they didn't grow up together is possible, because I'm living proof. I mean, that's my dude. She it be times when she like, "Well, tell Dre I said hi, like I still exist, I'm still here, y'all." Like we would sit up there and talk like she didn't, and I've been knowing her for at least 10 years, well, at least 15 years. I've been knowing him for 10 years. And it's the craziest thing how close he and I have become through this woman that's in the middle. So you're absolutely correct when people don't understand that in poly world, it is possible for two guys to have a brotherhood and be like, "Hey, bruh, she has in other words, his wife has a form of relationship with me.
Right.
That's not like the relationship she has with him, but she still has a relationship with him. And yet she has two men that really, really care about her, but yet two men that care about each other in a brotherly way."
Right.
And so
I think it's missed.
Go ahead.
You're right. It gets missed. And that's what, you know, we had tapped on this a little bit before. That's the misconception too. Not everything has to be very sexual. You know, we call platonic relationships too. There are times that I've told people like, you know, yeah, we were vetting a woman and they say, "Oh, well, you must be bisexual." I say, "I'm actually not. I'm not attracted to women that way." They think it's weird. And I say, "No, it's not that." They can think they're beautiful and all that, and they're wonderful But when it comes to me wanting a male that has nothing to do with it as a partner, but I could have a woman as a partner. And if I was in a quad, which is, a lady, man,
Right.
if my partners wanted to bring another woman into this, it would be okay. I just want my partner to be loved and know that you love them the way that I love them. When that's all that really mattered. And I, like you said, that's what you said. My partners, when I knew that they were going to be just fine, because I used to be nervous because we used to do separately. I used to be like, okay, I'm just with you. You'll have to know about the other person, blah, blah, blah. And when we kind of started hanging, like, they kind of knew about each other. They would say hi to each other, at least when we were on the phone, things like that. And I knew that there was something changing when one day I called one and I said, I had a conversation with them and they kind of upset me today. They were like, well, what did you do? I said, wait a minute. How'd you get on his side? You didn't even hear the whole story yet. I didn't even say anything. He's like, nah. And then I knew when they started taking up for each other. I knew. So I said, oh man, I'm in trouble now. They're gonna come for together. It's funny.
But that goes back to what you and I were discussing a little earlier in regards to should men and women have friends even if they're in relationships. And me and Andrea are of the idea that yes, I would never want Andrea to have 100% female friends, because females, all having 100% female friends, will never understand the dynamic of being in a relationship with a man. They don't understand how men think, how we move. But having male colleagues or friends that she can actually communicate with, that she's been knowing long before she knew me, gives her an understanding, just like the scenario you have. Because my female friends will call me and they'll start, Andre, I need your opinion on something. And then they're like, why are you going with him? I'm like, listen, because I know you. I know how you act. I know how you think.
Right.
And so, and I'm honest. I'm not your girlfriend or your LGBTQ friend that's gonna be like, no, girlfriend. I'm having a male friend as a woman. You get the truth. I want my wife to have the guys who she trusts to have male friends, because they're going to give her the truth. Well, for real, what Andre said that's kind of right. Or, hey, Andre giving you some BS on that when that ain't necessarily true. Your male friends are going to give you that, to where girlfriends are going to always just agree with you no matter what. And so that's the value of that. And for me and my wife, we don't want to be our only friends. And I don't want her to only have females in her life. I want her to experience, she's on this planet just like I am. I want her to be able to experience the laughter and like I said earlier, I ain't got all the good jokes. There's some other brothers out there got some jokes. I ain't got all the advice. I'm not 100% of the male population, so I can't tell her everything it is about maleness. So she does have male friends. She does have her father, her brother, her uncles. And so I always say this, my wife is one of those women that's surrounded by the love of males and not just relatives. She's surrounded by the love of males that have known her for quite a while and know what type of woman she is, and help develop her into the type of woman that she is. Not all her girlfriends and her mom and all them, but also the men that have been in her life as far as friends have given her advice to be the woman that she is and whom I married. Same thing with me. There's no way in the world I could be with a person that says, well, you got to get rid of all your female friends. Wait a minute. That's not about to happen. You're going to have to be comfortable. Like I got a friend down here in Colombia, D. D is, she's Afro-Colombian, and she's originally from Cali, Cali, Colombia. But her and her dad lived in the States for 10 years. So most of her teen years, D was in the States, in Houston. So when she came back, she does tours. She helps people learn Spanish. She helps guys get acclimated into living in Colombia. And she and I, like, that's like my sister. And so if I sit back and I say, well, I'm going to go pick up D real quick. We're about to go hang out and go have some sushi real quick. And Andrea will be like, she'll be reading a book and be like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Tell D I said hi. In the States, it's that discomfort of projecting your fears on me. Well, Oh, so you go out with another woman, you go take her out to dinner, but you ain't even ask me if I want to go. That's the United States. But here in other parts of South America, some people, like I said, traditionally, a lot of people are they walk around in fears, but here you can't do that because people have friends and family members that are of the opposite sex, obvious, and you have to allow them to be who they are. And I cannot be in a relationship with somebody that doesn't allow me to hear the laughter, the joy, and the opinions of the opposite sex. I've had friends in the States that my opposite sex friend went out on a date with with the girl that I was dating. I couldn't make it to the concert. I had business to take care of up north. So guess who went to the 3-day concert? My female friend and the female I was kicking it with. And they went to the 3-day event. They ain't stop a lick. They were like, "Hey, girl, she didn't call none of her girlfriends. She didn't call any of her other friends. Who did she call? She called the friend that she met through me." And quite often when I'm in relationships, because of my female friend connections, and that also go like in a poly world, in the swinger worlds, quite often I have such cool female friends. Whoever I'm dating becomes really close friends to that person because they're like, "Man, your girlfriend's cool." And all of a sudden they click and I'm out, in the shadow somewhere now because they hanging out together. They go into clubs and partying and shopping together.
And that's true. I've noticed I've had things like that. What usually happens to me is in that I'll have gentlemen who try to talk to me and I'll notice it's happened over and over again. Like if I'm just generally trying to get to know them, I notice that like if the ground and things like that, they actually enjoy them also. And I say it's because if me and these other people are on the same track and on the same mind and we just enjoy each other, you're liking the whole energy. Basically, you just don't realize it's not just me. They're a cool person, and I enjoy them, and you're enjoying them too. It's just like we're all in the same place. It's not necessarily always this, like you said, the sexual attraction part. And then having opposites, I think helps. It helps you be different. I have a family with a low amount of women in it. I mean, there's not a lot of women in our family, so I will say I actually learned more to be very boyish. And the opinions of men and things like that, I think for some reason it kind of rubbed out for me. So there's some things I've been like, you kind of think like a guy. I've heard people say that. I'm like, I don't know why. It's just because I was around them all the time. I have 5 uncles. I grew up with them, and then my grandpa was really involved in my life, and my dad was too. So and I was always with them, fishing, camping, driving cars, playing video games. Right. These are the people that I deal with. I didn't do mascara and nails. That wasn't me. So now as an adult, when I see a lot of issues where there's like this man versus woman, I actually will lean towards men's opinions because I feel like I can see a little bit of where they're coming from better than a woman who's been more around women. That makes sense. I do. And I'll tend to be like, And now as an adult, when I start to interact with women, I can see that little pool. So yeah, I think it helps you shape who you are. And I never say this because everybody gets so upset when I say, try to be a man for one day. If you really try, and people are like, "Oh, I can do that." No, try to be someone who doesn't get the option to be both, because women can be very masculine sometimes and very feminine. Try it without being able to do both. They cannot switch. They are told to be very masculine. You have to be the best of the best. You're supposed to be able to ride this out. You have to be tough all the time. You cannot really show emotion. And if you do, you're supposed to hide it because that shows you're weak. There are some things that men deal with mentally more than women all the time. And they don't realize it. And they think, okay, it's so easy. There's a lot of mental things and a lot of rules that aren't fair. And it's not fair on both sides, but for men, they don't have it fair. And then when they speak out about it, they're seen as very weak. And so it's very hard for women to understand where men's from. They can switch. and men cannot switch. They can't go, oh, I'm tough, I can do this all by myself, and the next day be like, oh my gosh, I don't know what to do with these people or these kids or my job, I'm lost this, and then someone comes and saves you. Men don't have the option to be saved. So there are things like that I think they have to take a moment and do some like, okay, what would it be like if I had to pay child support and I couldn't see this kid? What I like I mean, just really, and women don't really take that and say, that is kind of unfair. I have the choice to do a lot of things that they don't have the choice. And it's not everything. And yes, men, sometimes can act wild, but on the other hand, they can't switch. We can't switch role. They can't switch it.
True.
But being in a poly world, I will say, I feel like it's leveled out. If you're just naturally poly, you don't think like everyone else. And then in a poly world, because there's so many dynamics where people are bisexual or not, you kind of see everybody kind of the same. I know that you kind of see them like they're all the same. And so you said like making these friends and stuff. I'm not threatened by women. I'm not threatened by a man. They're just people. And if you like them, you like them. If you don't, you don't. It kind of equals the playing field here. So I do like that. And like you said, I recently started talking to a gentleman out of country. And I'm going to roll this over. He is from Afghanistan, but he's in Pakistan.
Uh-huh.
So if you guys don't know, because we've been doing a little series on it, but Afghanistan's very, very strict. Pakistan is not as strict. So yeah, so they can go there and it'll be a little bit relaxed, right? So when I started talking to him, like you said, just being able to get that flow, everything, I started asking myself that question I'm going to ask you again, which is that I noticed that there was a lot of men who were from the Middle East who started being okay with the idea of polyandry, which is dating more than one man for a woman. And I started noticing that I've seen a lot in these chats. I've seen a lot more men like actually asking women to be with them and other men. And what the kicker is, they don't want to be with another woman. And
wow.
That's the crazy part because it's heavily polygamous. And I wanted to know, I'm never going to ask again, but what you thought about that. And I know your answer, but go ahead.
But in regards to that dynamic, I just somewhat described that scenario with me and my friend Sean and his wife. The only difference between me, Sean, and his wife is because we haven't officially said, okay, like if I was single, this would be I would be intimate on the intimate side as much as Sean is on the intimate side. But as far as the relationship dynamic, I could fly back to the States and say, Kay, what you doing? Let's go so and so and so and so. Sean wouldn't bat an eye. He wouldn't bat an eye. I could go there and say, Sean, let's go to so and so and so and so. Kay wouldn't bat an eye. It's just part of the dynamic. So to sit back and see men saying, listen, I'm comfortable with dudes on that end of a woman, the guy on being on that end of a woman, and I'm on this side of a woman's life, and there's no problem with it. So I'm not surprised that it's becoming a little bit more I don't want to say commonplace, but a little bit more interesting to more men to sit back and say, like, listen, I ain't got no problem with it. I'm not I kid you not. Me personally, if I wasn't married, I couldn't have a problem. And if I was, I don't think I would have a problem with it. I don't think I would. I've never been wired like one of those guys that was like a jealous guy, an insecure dude. Oh, you a share bear. I don't care what other people think of me. I've always been one of those dudes that really just haven't cared. So to see that these guys from the Middle East are getting to that point where I'm not going to always think how the traditional individuals in my country think. So it is the United States. Men are saying I'm not going to always be what they've told me or programmed me to be. I can be who I want to be, and I can walk in and out of relationships the way that I want to and define them the way that I want to. And it's kind of funny. Men are starting to become comfortable with doing that because, as you were saying, when it comes to the mind of a man, we always have been the one to either lay the foundation of a tradition or to walk under the umbrella of past traditions. So now men are saying, listen, I'd rather lay down a new form of tradition when it comes to what I want to do in relationships. And that goes for guys in the Middle East and other countries, and including Colombia as well. They're doing it their own way.
Right. And I will tell you, that's another thing I noticed about other places. Masculinity is definitely not seen and observed the same. So
No.
I see in other countries, you'll see a lot of people say, oh, that's feminine. And I'm like, those are very masculine men, and they hug each other. They may, Italians kiss they kiss men on sides. That doesn't mean that you're homosexual. And then in your United States, it's like a red flag. Everything you do, oh, you hugged him too much. We don't. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, everything does not make you less a man. Like, that doesn't make sense.
Being in other countries and the greetings and how our men treat each other. And I sit back and I talk to them. I ask them, and in every country that I've been to, think men in the United States make the most money and and are very educated in as far as creativity. But they all say when it comes to just strip it down to being a man, I have not been in a country that didn't think United States was the softest man on earth. They all think, you men from the United States, for all you guys out there that's watching right now, most men and many women in other countries think that men in the United States, you tolerate too much, you put up with too much, you whine too much, you cry too much, you walk your emotions too much. It is amazing how other countries of men look at us like, no wonder he jumped off the edge of that, because United States men do that. They're emotional. They can't handle nothing. They don't know how to just be direct and be forward about something and just get to the point. And when you sit back and you watch it, sometimes I can't argue that fact. I see men really walking in the fullness of masculinity and manhood in other countries, and they may not have anything as in regards to the amount of money that we have in the United States, but how they carry manhood in other countries is completely different. And I think I've said this often on our channel. I've actually found myself stepping my manhood game up since I've been here in South America, because I see how you're expected to be a man. For example, I give you a perfect example. 50-50 exists, but it's not expected. You're expected to pay all the bills. You're expected to buy all the makeup, all the mascara. You want our hair to be done, you pay for it. You want our nails to be done, you pay for it. You want that nice tight dress, you want that nice makeup, you pay for it. You want that. Right here, I'm looking at about a good 16,000 in purses. You want her to have the nice purses? Dre, you pay for it. United States, she paid for her own. She got money. Why she get? You're expected to walk in the fullness of manhood. You pay everything. Therefore, there's no negotiation when it comes to you're. For example, in our household, we always say this: I'm the leader. Andre is the manager. One takes us in the direction. Once we accomplish the goal, the manager makes sure everything runs smoothly, make sure everything is well taken care of. I'm expected to bring in, no matter what country we live in, 100% of the proceeds, even though she has her money as an accountant. Now, in the United States, men will be like, oh, man, but that's not that's the United States. Manhood is completely defined differently. I believe heavily in hypergamy. Women, yes, you should look for a man that can provide 100%, because in Africa, women always look for men that, it's from the beginning of time until now, women always wanted the strongest men, not hyena men. They always want to talk about the women are hyenas, but men out there in the United States sometimes are acting like hyenas too. And what I mean by this is the male hyena is the lowest of the low on the totem pole. You eat, as a male hyena, you eat bones, where the women eat meat. Some of you dudes are so used to eating bones in the United States to complain about what the women are doing and not putting yourself in a position to where you deserve or where listen, if you're a male hyena and you're letting your woman eat meat, bruh, go buy your own meat. Get a new woman and be ready to be in position to buy a steak for her and a steak for you. In other words, it's your responsibility. And in all these other countries, it's like that. These dudes will be here, Miss Polly, and they will go out and they will clean windows. They will go out and they will sell fruit. They will go to college and get their educations. They will start a business, whatever it is. But wifey, all she got to do is manage everything. If she can manage the house, that man feels like I could build from scratch this business part, but I can't manage the house and be the leader. So in this country and other countries, that 50% is cool, it's nice, but for the most part, if they can afford it, the man will be the breadwinner every single time. Every single time, every single time.
So, okay, I'm gonna ask two questions to that. So since we're talking about the other countries now, if you are, so we have this big issue here where women are saying you have to make a particular amount of money to be with me. That still applies to someone who's out of country? Do you have to, as a man, do you need to provide a particular amount of money, or is that you just have to make more money than your partner?
You have to make the amount of money of the lifestyle level that you want to take the family. I'm going to say that again. It's not about making her feel good because he's making, for example, the average Colombian only makes $300 to $400 a month. Okay. Average Colombian. So, but remember, everything is like uber inexpensive here also. And so it's not about, look at him, he's a baller, I got to get with that baller. To a certain extent, yes, no matter where you go, you're going to have materialistic men, materialistic women. I'm just talking about everyday people. It's about, can this man that I'm looking at, does he have the potential or the current ability to take our family to the position, or even a future family to the position that we desire to go to? If he can do that, even if he's at zero right now, I'll give you a perfect example. Me, I came here, I was making $81,000 in the States. I said, I'm gonna gamble on myself. I hadn't started a business in a while. I say, I'm gonna gamble on myself. I came to another country and learned the culture and the dynamics, still learning the language with $20,000. Now, you not know 20,000 ain't nothing, but 20,000 in Colombia was enough to get me through a year. And I knew this about me. And Andrea and I were just starting to date. But she saw enough in me to say, he's got only 20,000. But the way he carries himself and the way that he talks and communicates, I can see that dude taking a family to a whole nother level. Fast forward 3 years later, I'm six figures every year while in Colombia. She saw, like Michelle saw in Barack, that manhood that could lead. That's what they look for here in Colombia. In the States, you got to have the six figures already. Nobody wants to do the journey with you in the States. Down here, the woman wants to do the journey because that's part of the family dynamic, is right. The journey from standing on the corner selling apples to now we own 3 fruit markets.
And I'm glad you said that. Now, the journey, that's a lot of people don't understand. And I think that's one thing that for women, I want them to hear is that I know women, a lot of women are like, oh, I don't mind what matter money. But then in the same breath, you'll say, oh, if he makes 56, it's not enough because I make it more than that, or I make the same. And the thing is, not everyone is ready to hit their full potential, whatever that is, at the same time you were. If that makes sense. You may hit your potential at 24, but he may not be there till he's 35. You have to realize everyone's in a different place. But I think what touches me, what touches me is when I see a gentleman striving all the time. I think it's the most attractive thing is to see that no matter what, you're grinding. Like you said, and you don't have too much pride Do not. I've heard men who have been like, you know, when I was younger, they'll say, oh, they're 26. They know they didn't make their football career or whatever. And they'll say, I'm not going to work at McDonald's. I'm not going to work at Walmart. I'm like, but one day you could be a manager. One day you could be a call center. I don't know, whatever the heck it is. But why not put energy into something? You know what? Start a bit, whatever the heck it is. But you're just saying, I'm not going to do that. And then you go back and try to do those little football. I've been in Florida. That little football leagues they do. You out here trying to do that at 26. Knowing that you may not even make it, stop. It's too much.
Right.
Show potential that you're trying. It's about trying. You can keep going. If something fails, show me that you're gonna keep trying. Hey, babe, listen, these lights about to go off. But you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna Uber. I'm gonna go out here. I'm a DoorDash. I'm gonna go out here. Shoot, I'm just gonna go do some. That guy, I would date him in a minute. I don't care if he got $3 in his bank account. That man who keeps going and trying, nothing stopping him. He ain't crying about his leg hurt, his knee hurt, whatever. And he actually is trying. And if he's going through something mental, it's the journey. Because he could be horrible at 24. He could be, even I'll give you 30, horrible at 30. He may find his purpose at 36. And I was there with him the whole time. And I saw his up and downs. I can support him better. We know how to communicate with each other better. And I can be a better partner. And they miss out on the journey trying to focus on the prize.
And a lot of times they decide to do the journey with the wrong person too.
True.
They'll pick Pookie and Ray Ray to do a journey with, but dudes that got real potential and talking about doing some real things. When dudes sit back and say, "Listen, babe, I got a flight to take to Indianapolis because they asked me to speak at the Black Expo." So you going to Indianapolis for how many days? You got to deal with all that. You don't have somebody that's going to tell you, well, babe, I'm so happy for you. Make sure you get video footage of that. I'm going to stay here and watch. I got work I need to do. I got things I need to do. Bills got to be paid while you're in Indianapolis. I'll never forget this. And this is American mindset. Michelle Obama, when she was just on one of those relationship shows, live streams a couple months ago, that went viral. She said this. She said, for 10 years, you guys don't realize I hated Barack. She said, I hated my husband. She said, I'm gonna tell you guys why. While I'm taking care of these two kids, he's out there golfing, playing poker, networking with these. She said he just out there just having a ball, coming home, just feeling good, had a great day. She said, I didn't understand. He was out there networking with other politicians. He was laying a foundation to become president of the United States. She said, so all those 10 years of work that he was putting in, I didn't consider it work because I didn't think that it was the work defined the way that I assume work should be. She said, I didn't think him being out there shooting golf, cracking jokes, but he's cracking jokes with Mitt Romney and Chuck Schumer, the heads of the Senate. She said, I didn't see that at that moment. She said, because I'm not out there with them. I'm here as a mama to take care of these girls. She said, and I despised them for it. She said, I argue with them. I wasn't the best wife or supporter that I could be. Take that outside of the United States. Bring her to South America. She wouldn't have said a word. She'd have rolled with it. Because she would have said, as long as whatever he's doing is taking care and getting us to the next level of this life, go on out there, baby. Go on, shoot your golf. If you got the drink, go on, play your dominoes with the mayor's son, things like that. I have made so many political connections. Salsa dancing.
You see, that's what I'm saying. I think the two. So I'll be honest, the communication there, but the lack of Americans don't value that communication. We value just giving you what you need and then moving on. And sometimes even just a little thing where, I'm moving different. Listen, man, I want you to know I'm about to be moving different. I might not be coming home. People are like, well, that's a scary conversation. It is if you're American. But having those conversations saves you so much stress later. And then you can build. If I know that you're trying to promote a club, right? First off, I know what that entails. And you tell me, oh, some ladies invited you to a party, you better go. Matter of fact, let me get your clothes ready, because I know that you have to be attractive to certain people. You have to look a particular way, and people have to like your energy. And if I know that that includes other women, of course. And that's what, oh, you just got me, Andre, on this one. I tell people that find your match that matches you. People who are in the limelight, people who are on YouTube, we make that mistake a lot. You date people who are maybe, don't really want all that. They're very nervous. People are very insecure. You should not be dating them. And it's not because you don't like them. It's because if they can't handle the volume of people and interactions you have, it will be I'm not going to cuss. It's going to be a show. It's going to be fireworks everywhere, because they can't handle that kind of energy. It makes them very jealous. It makes them very insecure. It just really promotes everything that you don't want. And you end up being arguments and all this all the time. And even if you don't do anything, you're not trying to, they're always going to be thinking that. And this is like these really bad relationships where people falling out. You see people acting for things and people not understand. Oh, it's just an act. I put on, I flirted with her a little bit because some people like to be flirted with. Some people like to flirt. It doesn't mean that they're going to take your husband. Not all the time. I'm not trying to say don't be stupid. I'm saying be aware of the difference. You should know your partner well enough and trust them well enough to know what they're doing. Like you just said, I tell everybody I like a little hoe in my partners. And I mean that very much so. Because I know that when I'm on these shows, a lot of men talk to me regardless if I'm cute or not. I get more attention. I'm interacting with more people all the time. So if they were so jealous and so worried and consumed about what I was doing, it couldn't function. Those aren't good matches for me. You know what I'm saying? So someone who's like, hey, I'm like, sir, you don't even know what you're walking into. This ain't going to work. And I can pick that out now and say, we're not a good match. Some people can't handle that kind of stuff.
True. I've got a friend of mine. She's an actress. She does stage plays. And I'll never forget the story she told me. She said, I'm start dating this guy. She said he's like 6'7", really nice guy, real cool. She said we were performing in our hometown. She said I got him front row tickets. She said, and we're performing, the show is going great. She said, and I had a kissing scene with my boyfriend in the, with the person that played my boyfriend in the play. She said, and you being real with your kiss, as far as like acting is concerned. She said, all of a sudden, my boyfriend, 6'7", in the middle of a play, stood up and yelled at the top of his lungs, "Oh, hell no." She said the audience turned. She said, me and the guy that were performing, we had to stay in your role. It's still, she said, but my eyes are blazing flames. I'm so mad and embarrassed. She said, fortunately, nobody knew that this was my man. She said, but at the end of the day, she realized that, just like you say, match with your match, because not everybody could do this. I got a friend also on a male side. He's a very well-known content creator. He said when he starts dating, he has to wait a couple weeks to tell the person what he actually does. He said because most women that he meets around the world are extremely insecure about the fact that he's a traveling content creator, and they'll look at the videos of the ladies in his video who he might be just doing a regular interview with. And I know him, he's not sleeping with her. If he's got a girlfriend, he's got a girlfriend no matter what country. But the ladies who he date, they'll binge watch just to look at the ladies that he's interviewing on his channel.
I know what you're talking about. It's bad. It's bad. It's horrific. I just can't. It's bad. And this is the worst part. So this is the worst part for me in poly life. Yeah. So poly life for me, everyone knows that I am known for dating monogamous people, which is not really what poly people do. Just because of where I'm at, and I'm kind of really open to it. I'm like, if I like someone and they like me, I don't, hey, I'll just tell them what it is and we'll go from there. But a lot of people, I've had outbursts. I know what it's like to transition a monogamous person into a poly mind, and even the two partners I've had for a very long time now, they manage it a lot better now. But in the beginning, I was like, oh, I know telling him I'm about to go on a date. It's about to be fire. Like, I already knew. I was like, let me prepare myself for this situation. And we had to learn a process of that. You know, okay, let's get some rules down because you lose it. So I need you to be not losing it. So I could tell that she was embarrassed because, yeah, you have slip ups and things like that because they're monogamous transitioning. So I understand. But I've only dated like one person who was actually poly, who was like fully already poly. And he was married. It was amazing. Actually, I had a really good relationship with him. But that was it. Other than him, nope. I really attract monogamous people. I don't know why, but it's something that happens. I think because I'm willing to go through the process, and I'm not going to judge you for having your moments because I know those moments happen, and I'll just walk with you through it, and I already know what to expect. So it's a little bit different.
Do you think that you enjoy taking their poly virginity? Do you think that's what it is? It's a power move?
I will. You know what's so funny though?
Most subconscious power.
Yeah, I mean they're already kind of poly. Most men are already kind of a little bit.
And you know, it's kind of funny that you would say that because if I was single, and looking back over how I carry myself around women, it could have been easy for me to be poly. Because I'm sitting back thinking about the times where I be sitting in the car and I'm with the female and I know we're about to go do what we're doing or we've already done what we're doing. And they'll be over there setting up a date with the guy or conversing with the guy. And I'm just driving like, or I'll be like, you gonna answer your phone? Go ahead, girl. Go answer your phone. You know, or they'll be laying in bed next to me and they'll be having a full-blown conversation with another guy. And I don't feel like insecure. I feel like, man, she here with me. So what I got to be insecure about? Or situation like I told you, like with my friend Sean and I, as far as like our brotherhood came together by way of the woman in the middle, which is his wife, which was my close friend prior to being his wife. You know, she knew me. We were hanging out like that was my sidekick where everybody thought we were so close. We were married. So I already had a mental and what's the term I'm looking for?
I just say poly, so I include everybody.
The relationship I had with her was non-sexual, in other words, but yet he came along and platonic. That's the term. Thank you. But he came along and has a sexual relationship with her, but yet it built a relationship, a cool brotherhood with he and I that's still stand the test of time. So now that I look back, as you and I are having this discussion, it's almost like there are many of us men out here that are pseudo poly without realizing it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so for you to sit back and say, yeah, a lot of times monogamous dudes you attract, I could see myself in that scenario because I've done that before without realizing I've done that before.
You're not doing it. You're not. That's why I say some people who are already in the mind, they have the mind, they don't realize it. And then, you know, if you're living in a monogamy world, someone's telling you, oh, that's wrong. I think the first time, which I have an interview with another gentleman here shortly, but I told him, I said, he goes, why do you think that? I said, because I didn't think anything was wrong with loving more than one person until someone actually told me I couldn't do it. The first time I said I was like 16, I had a boyfriend. Oh, he was amazing. I still talk to him today. I think on Valentine's Day, I was like, oh, I love you. I'll see you later. I haven't really had, we used to meet each other once a year. We weren't dating anymore when we got older and we'll, you know, hang out and stuff and talk. But we definitely built something great. And I found another guy because he moved away, but we still saw each other. And I met another guy and he was so wonderful too. And I was like, oh, he's so wonderful. And I was like, well, I feel wrong. I don't want to violate anything sexual. So I didn't do that. But I was like, oh man, I really like him though, you know? And I wanted to interact with him. And I did interact with him. I went to church with him and met his mother, who later in my life was watching my children for many years.
Right.
Liked him. And I told him one day, I was like, I know you guys might meet because you live in the same neighborhood. And I actually think they did actually get in the same car once. They had mutual friends or something. Like, yeah, I said, I've been hanging out with him. It's probably inappropriate. I really like him though. I said, well, can I just date both of you? And he said, no. He's like, no, but he said, you can't have both. And I was like, why? And he said, you just can't. I was like, well, that's not fair. There was no real answer for me. And everyone would say that. I was like, that's what I think happens too, even as an adult, especially when you get married or have a relationship. You cut off all your interactions with everyone else, really, on a big term. And when you want to seek out friendship or interaction or conversation, if it's not with your partner, it's a kind of a no-no, and or unless it's the same sex. And if you say you meet someone at work and they're awesome, you're not really supposed to be interacting with them to any degree. And it just makes you feel like I'm doing something wrong, and you're not. If that makes sense, you are, because you're violating monogamy. But you not. I'm just hanging out with this person. There's plenty of guys at work who I walk by, like, hey, how are you? And we're not together. But they might flirt or say something funny or something, you know. But I would love to have that interaction every day and not feel like I'm doing anything wrong. But that technically is wrong. It's technically wrong in monogamy. You should not be, I'll rub on someone's too close or something. Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell your wife. Like, like it's so bad. Right. But, you know, and it's really interesting to see that. But I wish that people were a little bit more open to at least trusting their partners, or their partners being more honest with what they want. Like you said, a lot the cheating is because people are with people they don't really want to be with. It's a lot of this. True. Okay, we're gonna pull this out my hat. Okay. A lot of people are with each other because they need someone else and not want someone else. I need you to help me pay these bills. I need you to help me take care of my children. I need you. If you start getting relationships with people who need you more than they want you, those aren't good relationships, because they're only made for that, the need. Once the need is no longer needed, you are not valuable. And that's when they think they cheat. Because if I think, oh, I need someone to help me take care of my kids, but I also need someone to talk to, what happens is I'll start finding someone else to talk to. And then one day I'm going to see that he talks to me and takes care of my kid. You no longer need it because you don't meet all my needs.
That's true.
And you're gone. True. And that's even women who say, oh, he said everything's fine with me. But let's say your partner wants to do something freaky with you, or your sex drive is low. If you're not meeting his needs, yeah, he'll look somewhere else. That's unrealistic to think he won't look. I'm not saying he'll act on it, but looking, yes, he's probably watching some hub somewhere. And then you get mad at that. You keep taking from him. And then you're surprised that one day he goes over here being inappropriate, maybe not touching, but just being in an inappropriate relationship with someone at work, or talking to them. Maybe because you've made it where he's looking for something else. You're not messing up, and he does need you for some things, but he's only there because he needs you to help him with kids. He needs you not to put him on child support. He needs you to do that. But once that need is gone, the fear is gone that he doesn't care about child support no more. A lot of men wait till their kids are 18 and they deuces.
Yes,
how many people wait till their children are 18, they deuce on them? So they don't want to pay child support, or they can't afford the house and take care of the kids. So they'll just stay together. How many relationships right now do you know where a guy's like, I'm not with her anymore, but I live with her? That's a whole new one I've been seeing. A whole bunch of grown men living with exes.
Living with exes because of the economy. This is so true.
So these aren't relationships that people want to be in. They need to be in it. Take all that away and it changes everything, because now you can think a little bit different. And I think that's where I'm at. I even had to put myself in that situation. I was like, been with this guy for 15 years. You know, there's a lot of stuff we discussed. I don't know if this is well. And I had to say, like, I told him, like, we're not built on the right stuff. We're built on needing each other. And I don't want to need you. I want to want you, which I do, but I want to actually want you more than I need you. And when I took that away, he said, I want you to need me. He actually got very upset. I was like, no, I don't want that. I was like, please, Gary, I want to really build really positive with you. He was so upset. And we aren't together anymore. But when he left, he was like, yeah, I think you were kind of right. And I was like, it's okay. We're moving on. Like, but it's
right. Absolutely correct. And that's a good point that you made in regards to the want and need, because I often tell people one of the causes of breakups is you're no longer necessary.
Yes.
You're not, if I find myself being able to accomplish this, do this, acquire this without you, why are you around? You have no necessity in my life. And I tell, one of my biggest warnings is, make sure that you're always wanted, but also make sure that you're a necessity to a certain extent in that person's life. And that may just be the dynamic of wants. And that's where I give you a perfect example. A lot of times people don't even realize that they're in poly, even in a monogamous relationship. Let's go there with the work wife and the work husband. Let's talk about that. I've had work wives, plenty of them, to where it was no sex involved, but if it was any flirtation going on, it was with that person. If it was going out to lunch with somebody, it was with that person. If K, they considered K my work wife. Even though there was no intimacy or anything, whenever I went to somebody's desk or somebody came to my desk just to talk, it was usually her. It was usually her desk while during my break time, and I would just sit down and just chop it up with her and everybody in her department and go back to my department. And it was me as her work husband that she was excited to showcase her real boyfriend that she had the gentleman that she had just started dating. She's really serious about. It was me, no other man in the building. My point is that there is a such thing as a poly in the workplace where a person actually has a full-blown platonic relationship with a person that is literally their work wife. Everybody knows it. That's their work husband. Everybody knows it. But yet once they leave, they go back to the other person that they're in a relationship with. It is not uncommon to be in that dynamic of poly.
Andre, we're gonna make it even deeper. Your best friend that keeps coming to your house every day, knows everything about your husband, everything, that's a platonic partner. That's what I feel. Yep. There are women who have other friend women. They do everything together. I mean, I don't know what they don't do together. They do everything. The only thing they ain't doing possibly is not sleeping together, but they're doing everything. That woman is your platonic partner. She could be your whole sister wife. And then you see people say things like, oh, my best friend came up to me and was like, hey, I want, what if he dated me too? What kind of, that's what, all I need is the man, but we could be together every day. And these things you hear people say, and they're like, well, I was kind of offended because I didn't want her to be with my partner. But I was like, you're already doing it. like I try to, like, her husband helps y'all pay for y'all nails together. He paid for y'all to go out to eat. He's already y'all husband, basically. And Andre, this is funny. So if you guys look back, there was a interview I did with a lady named Andrea, and she's usually see her on Chef Shapino's show. And she has her own little show now on YouTube channel. And me and her had a debate. They really just have a debate. And I was supposed to convince her that she was poly, or like to be poly. And I was the guy or whatever. And I was talking to her and I said, what's the difference between me and your friend, your best friend? And she's like, nothing but the intimacy, basically, or me and your boyfriend. And I was like, well, I was like, that's basically the same thing. And she was saying no. And I got her to tell me, almost an intro. She said her friend got on and said, you already do that with me and my husband. My husband does everything with you. You spend Father's Day with us. You do all this stuff with my husband. Basically, we share a husband. I was like, ma'am, you've been fighting with me for like 40 minutes. And you already are basically in a whole population. I don't even know what to tell you.
I've got female friends. When I go back to the States, that have been my friends, they cook, they take care of I learned all the things I've learned about the Latin community and Latin women from my female friends that were doing all these things for me already. And now they're cool with Andrea. So now when I go back to the States, I got hot plates waiting for me for my Latin female friends and hot plates waiting for me here in Colombia. So you're absolutely correct. It's just that we either want to put negative titles on it and say, well, that's the friend zone. If you haven't crossed the threshold of physical, you have a everything else can be full scale relationship. But if y'all haven't passed the scale of physical, then that's just a friend zone. But it could be a form of poly in the sense of, well, wait a minute, the reason why I'm not intimate with her, I got somebody over here I'm being intimate with, but in all the other areas of intimacy, they are mirrors. They are mirrors. It's kind of funny. Now I'm sitting back there. It's kind of fun. I'll be calling Sean right after this episode because everything his wife, other than physical, can get from him, she could get from me. That's how much I love her and I care about her. Economics, what you need, Kay. Even though she hasn't asked for that, but if she ever was in a position where she needed, I would tear her off economics just as fast as Sean would.
Right.
If she needed an ear to somebody to speak to her, if there was an emergency. I'm trying to think of if there's any area other than the intimacy and maybe some close-knit conversations that she has with Sean that she wouldn't have with me. I mean, we would spend hours talking, just walking through the park, talking about life, relationships, situations, ups and downs, breakups. So, and how we got close was she had gone through a breakup and I had gone through a divorce. So we got two people trying to heal and trying to understand the new dynamic of I was in a long-term relationship. What is life? It's almost like life after. And both of us are walking through life after. And so to sit back, now I'm sitting back looking at the dynamics as you and I talk, is like, other than the physical part, that's basically
it.
And like I said, other than, they're living together and they're technically married and the bills, but as far as if you strip all that away, the relationship that I have with Kay is just as strong as, and the love I have for her is just as strong as, in a different way, of course, that Sean has for her, the respect that I have for her as well.
Right. And I think that's, a lot of people think, okay, it has to be this sexual thing. Poly's not as sexual as people, ideas like we were talking about. And like I said, I like that show that, I think it was on Showtime, and they kind of showed that lady who's very low sex drive. She was a big cuddler, and they showed her interacting with, their quad a particular way. And I was like, I'm glad they showed that, because not all of us are even at that level. There are some men that I'm like, oh my gosh, high five. I love having a conversation with you, but I'm not really sexually attracted to you. And it's not even like a bad thing. I'm just saying, hey, you know what? I'm not really sexually attracted to you, but like I could talk to you all day. Or there are even some men I've seen in relationships where they're a little older. I mean, like they're 70s, and they're like, "Listen, I ain't trying to do all day, girl. We can talk." That's where they are, and their partner has another partner. You start seeing poly a lot more when people feel like their partners deserve a particular need to be met, but they can't provide it. And it's okay to say, I can't provide that for you. Especially I see it in people who like to interact in a particular group. Like some people are really nerds. They like all this stuff that has to do with, Marvel games on this. And their girlfriend's like, listen, I don't know nothing about that. I don't want to watch the movies. And they might find a woman who does that, and they'll be like, well, why? I don't get why she's trying to hang out with you. And this is the thing I hate the most, when they'll do this thing, be like, oh, I'll go with you. I say, you don't really want to enjoy the moment. You're going to ruin this moment for me. You're not going to vibe with me in the moment. You're not going to understand why Ken and Ryu hate each other. You're not going to vibe with me on that. You're just going to sit there and be like, oh, okay. And no, I want you to really know and feel it. And you're taking that moment from your partner because you just don't want them to have that time with someone else. That is very selfish. I think people don't realize that. That's selfish.
That is.
You're taking the moment.
Really is.
It is very selfish. And I think that's where I've heard people say, oh, my son asked me, he came to me, he's been dating, he's like 14 to 15. And he's like, oh, my girlfriend, she wants to go to a movie with this guy, but I told her I don't think she should go. And I said, why? And he said, well, then if I told her, he's like, maybe I should go, because if I don't go, she's going to go with someone else. And that guy told her he would go. And I was like, so what's going to happen? He's like, well, she's going to watch it and she's going to have that fun time with him. He might try to talk to her. I was like, but do you think she would talk to him? And he's like, no. I was like, then why are we making a scene? You don't want to watch the movie and someone else does. Leave that person alone, please. Like, and he was like, oh, well, maybe. I was like, you're taking that moment from her for you to sit there and fall asleep on the movie. Don't do that. Don't sit there. Don't ruin.
Correct.
Like, think about it. You're enjoying a good concert and someone's sitting next to you and they're sleeping or something. They're taking the moment from you to connect with the activity in another person because they don't want to do it. And I think that's why a lot of men do like polygamy, because they say, well, at least it's another woman. It's not a man who's enjoying. She's with that girl too. Got a whole another poly wife and be with your girlfriend. They're doing the same thing. It's not different. So I see that a
Absolutely.
lot.
Absolutely. And I think now that you gave that scenario, scenarios like that has caused me to be able to still enjoy life and not always have to lean on my wife for the enjoyment of life.
Yes.
It causes me to not have to put the pressure like that on a girlfriend. 100%. You have to enjoy everything that I enjoy. If you got to enjoy bowling, you got to enjoy golf, you got to enjoy anime or whatever it may be. You got to be 100%. That pressure is not on my wife. I don't put that pressure on her.
Wait, Andre, let me tell you just before you finish. Like you said, are you trying to date yourself or another person?
Right. Right. You know, so I look that's a great point. So I look at it like, you know, after hearing your scenario, especially what you're saying with your son and before, you're absolutely correct. People need to have more interaction with not just with their significant other. And back to what you were saying, if you know that person is attracted to that person or built like that, why are you with them anyway? If you don't have somebody, I could trust Andre to, for example, a couple weeks ago, Andre's girlfriend birthday party, and they're just having a good time, and all their friends from high school and college, everybody's there. Andre is out having a ball dancing salsa. I'm good at salsa, but there are some moves I wasn't raised knowing. I'm taking classes.
Yes.
Andrea posts pictures of her and send me pictures, send to some of our WhatsApp groups, and post some pictures of her just out there just having a ball, dancing with some of the guys, doing the twists and spins that I know they've been doing since they were 12 years old. And when they learned salsa in school or when they were dancing. So I understand the dynamic of how it all goes. It's not, well, she's out there dancing with other men and so forth and so forth. I want my woman to be able to, if your husband can't spin you like that yet, go on out there on that dance floor. Colombia is like that. It's more or less like a 2 dance rule. It's like, okay, I've literally walked up to guys that you knew that these guys had some type of connections, right? And they would have the most beautiful woman on theirs or women on their side. And I will walk up, reach my hand out, ask them to dance. They'll look at Zaddy, they'll look at Zaddy, and we go dance. Colombia is a 2 dance rule. Come back, he's got shots waiting for everybody.
Wonderful. See, that's nice.
And the whole time, now I don't even make it back to my table with my fellas who I was hanging out with. We all over here with him, his girls, his groups, and all of us are hanging out and having a good time. It's not like that down here. People understand that there is interactions with more people than just the same, the same sex. It's not like that down here. So if you're not comfortable, and not saying that we don't have insecure dudes down here too, but if you're not comfortable in the States with, and let's go take it on an international scale, if you're not finding the comfort or groups of people that are like-minded like you are in the States, you might want to consider getting a passport and checking out other locations, whether it be some locations in Cozumel, Mexico, or whether you're in Panama City, Costa Rica, or you're going to the Caribbeans, wherever it may be, where people that are more like-minded are open to it, compared to, once again, the taboo mindset of everything in the United States.
No, and that's very, very true. That's very true. Like, you know, that's I felt so bad for a lot of men I met too who are married, and I've had conversations like, well, why are you acting so weird sometimes? And they'll be like, well, I feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm just being too nice, or I'm too nice, especially, like I said, I have an asked Miss Polly that do on tag, and they'll come say, well, she gets so mad when I talk to girls or I offer to help someone. And I think that also makes men, like you said, they say it's masculine. It's not. You make men look very aggressive, very angry. They're not supposed to be interacting with children in a particular way. You don't see that in Spanish culture. You don't see that in other places. You see men interacting with children appropriately. Okay, am I
Of
saying
course.
appropriately?
I know exactly what
you
you're
see
saying.
kids giving each other hugs. You see dads interacting with their kids and very, able to hug their kids. No one's like, oh my God, her uncle was, hug. You're not seeing that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but you're not seeing it to those degrees. And when you see someone who does do that, when they find out, they in trouble. They in trouble.
Like down here, everybody greets with a kiss on the cheek. You ain't gonna bring your girlfriend around me and she ain't getting a kiss on the cheek. It's just everybody. It's a hello. It's kind of funny because guys will have their girlfriends or somebody that they're dating and they'll introduce me, and they're so accustomed to Americans not doing it. It's almost a sign of that I'm not Americanized when I do reach in for the kiss on the cheek. Oh, he's not from there, or he's no longer Americanized. He's like this. Or when they see me on the dance floor, they're like, oh, you sure he's from America? He might be Afro-Colombian because, and it's kind of funny. So now that I do salsa, one of the few times I've been back to the States, I've had older couples from Colombia pull me to the side and say, where you from? Oh, you're not from the United States. You're not from the United States. How you greet the crowd, how you move through the crowd, how you dance on the dance floor, you act like you're Colombia. What part of Colombia are you from? And so I tell them, so forth and so forth, to be around my wife's family and so forth. But you're absolutely correct. How people interact is kind of funny. The first time I got a kiss on the cheek from some young ladies was and I was dating somebody, and her daughters walked up to me, and they were like 6 and 8, and these young ladies were Haitian. In Haiti, a lot of people don't realize Haiti, Spanish speaking culture is the second largest amount of blacks in the Western Hemisphere. Well, actually, wait a minute. Other than the United States, they're number 2. Brazil is number 1 with 14 million. Haiti is number 2 with 12 million. Colombia is number 3 with 12 million Afro-Colombians. Mexico, number 4 with 4.5 million Afro-Mexicans. And Cuba is number 5 with like 3.4 million Afro-Cubans. And so when America's it's 13,000, Brazil is 13,000 black people. I mean, 13 million black people. You have 14 to 15 million black people just in Brazil alone, not including all the rest of South America. And so when you sit back and you see these young girls walk up to me, I sat down and they just walked up to me, and one just gave me a kiss on the cheek, and the other one gave me a kiss. I'm looking like, what is this? It was just the sweetest gesture. And now that I live outside the United States and I see that it's the norm of the culture, kiss on the cheek is a part of greeting or saying goodbye. A lot of times when you say goodbye here in Colombia at a family event, you got to get yourself ready. You like, okay, it's 30 women in here. You don't just wave goodbye. So you got to walk through, and usually you go by age. So the younger people get the kiss on the cheek, and then you go all the way around, and then grandma is the last one you say goodbye to.
That's very nice. I love to see that. I don't want it to be demasculated. I hate seeing that you feel like you're not, or you're not allowed to, or it's like you're a pedophile. It's really bad. But like you're saying, seeing that, I like to see men interacting like they're human. Like they have emotions. It's okay to hug someone if you're happy. So, seeing people who are very fatherly, very, I won't even say fatherly, just being a parent, really, just being able to love their children. And like, I'm not saying the ones who just sit on the couch who don't really hug anybody, because I'm kind of like that, but like the ones who really like, who I love to see that. And like my partners now, one of the things I love to see them do the most, I think it's crazy to see black males who are American do this from the South. Okay. Is when I started seeing them interact with my youngest son, I thought that was crazy. I was like, are they called me on a call one day because I was at work, a job, and I saw, one of my partners like, yeah, look, we're going to show you, we're watching wrestling. And I was like, okay. And then I see my other partner was there, and they're in there like wrestling with him and playing with him at the same time. And I was like, that is like the crazy. I would never see that anywhere else. Even if we were step parents, you don't see that. And it just really warms my heart every time I see them. One partner comes in, he hugs all the one. I live with one and not the other, and he'll come and they hug everybody, and it's hey, I love you guys, hey, blah blah, and it's like, okay, that's what it's like. You get this connection. We're not just here high-fiving or just to see mom, or it's like I'm here to see everyone, and it feels like a family. You don't really get to see in men, Black males, you don't really see them interact like that, and so I'm very happy to find two partners who are very loving to children and actually really like enjoy. I think they would get rid of me if they couldn't take kids. I'd be honest, sometimes they'd be like, we're good. You can go. We don't need you here. So I really do.
I feel you.
Like this. I do. I hope that people get to see this. And like I said, if you're a guy out here, you want to go outside your comfort zone, meet American men in America. You can meet women who are even second generation, usually sometimes second generation, third generation women here, just to kind of get a taste, if that's what you're trying to do, of their culture. That's the first way I met a lot of people from different cultures was actually here. I met a lot of first generation people because I lived in Florida. I lived in Cape Canaveral. And so, the Air Force Base is right there. And so I've met like Asian, grandparents and stuff, and you come to their house, they got rules, baby. You ain't in America no more. You didn't came to the door. That's done. Like, Jamaicans, same thing. We hanging clothes on the line. We got a dryer though. No. Like, it's a whole situation. So it definitely, you can find it here. If you're too nervous or you're not ready or you can't get a passport right now, whatever, you can still get a dose of some of those places. Like you said, California, you got Chinatown. You can go into America and go into these little pockets that have,
correct.
There's a heavy Spanish population in South Florida. You can go into, you have to go to a particular area, but you can get a little taste to see if that is what you may be interested in. You can. So, don't.
That's how I did. Like I said, my here when I was living in Tampa has one of the largest Colombian populations, Venezuelan populations. They even have festivals. They have their own neighborhood. Use Spanish flags everywhere. I mean, Colombian flags everywhere. Colombian restaurants, Colombian clubs. And so a lot of my Colombian friends introduced me to Colombia by way of, like you said, while I was still in the States. Colombians, you have a large group of Colombians and Venezuelans in Orlando, but Puerto Ricans just rule Orlando. And so if you want to learn more about Puerto Rican experience, Orlando, Florida, Cubans in South Florida. And so it's the whole dynamic of opportunities to really learn about other people's cultures and not just Americanized version of their cultures. I've heard just to sit back and listen to some of their stories of if they're the first generation and just hear how they grew up in their home countries is just amazing to sit back and see some of the things. But I kid you not, you just do not understand the beauty and the value of the world until you get out here and you're like, oh my God, everything that you thought you knew in the United States, it's nothing like what you thought.
Right, and we're not putting down the U.S. We live here.
Oh, I love the
there
United
are some
States.
beautiful things here. Yeah, it's nothing. I'm just saying. I think you will have a better grasp of the world and people in it if you're able to see where they're coming from and their environments. I think one of the first jobs I was considering getting right around the time I was about to graduate was it was, oh gosh, I forgot who the company was, but it's a company in Oregon. Basically, you take Japanese products and then you advertise them, or you take a product, and you advertise them to Japanese people. And the reason why you would need to know the culture and everything is because you have to tell Americans why or why not a product would work there, because there's certain customs that they have that they're like, oh no, that's not going to work. Why would you even bring that here? things
Correct.
that offend people. So if you don't know, this is a job opportunity you could have had. And I thought that was awesome. I was like, shoot, I could tell people if this soap is going to work over here, if this scent like that. It seems simple, but it's very interesting because, like you said, people, just for example, in Japan, the restaurant you get your food from, you don't leave that area. You're not allowed to walk through the street and eat and throw trash on the ground. You can't do that. So when let's say you're going to advertise some kind of food, you probably wouldn't want to advertise something that has like a lot of wrappers and stuff, because they don't do trash like that.
Absolutely.
So you might want to something that's biodegradable. See, these are the things that job would entail, and I wouldn't know any of that. If I had just took the job and I was an American, I wouldn't be able to know how to advertise that to a whole nother culture where they don't even high respect. They don't want to, they say thank you and sorry for everything, which I do all the time. I say sorry every 3 seconds. And I tell people, like, oh, it's the Japanese in me. And I really mean that, because when you talk, you have to say sorry a lot. It's just part of who it is. And this is part of it. So yes, go out there, take a look. I know Andre's been with me for a long time now, and I appreciate it. But we had a really good conversation, and it's different from our live earlier, so that was great. But I do want to thank you for coming and sharing with
anytime.
me. Yes, and obviously this is just one part of my series for just Date Internationally. But other conversations that I may bring up, which is just in my regular podcast. Poly, I will now know that we can come to you about lifestyle stuff, because I've only lived poly world. I know a little bit about lifestyle because I'm in those groups, but I don't dive in because it's not where I live. So, but it's nice to have that view from someone else, because it is different. And so to hear how someone else thinks on a different side of it is awesome. So yeah, I appreciate you. Do you have anything to say?
I had a great time. Just in closing, like I said, continue to be open-minded, guys. Continue to have questions, ask, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you click that like button. She likes you. Make sure you like her too. Also, make sure that you subscribe to our channel, Love Crossing Borders, where we also show you how to find love across borders or fall in love with the borders that you cross. So it's been great. I thank you, Ms. Polly, for having me on. This has been so much fun. And you're one of the few content creators that made your boy think like, So now I'm going to call Sean and Kay. I know, call Sean and Kay right after this and have a conversation with them about this particular topic.
Yeah, I was so glad. So yes, so we'll end it now. Awesome. I'm gonna say the V to make sure it's all smooth. Okay.
All right.